It's time for This Week in WordPress, episode number 241, which was recorded on Monday, the 13th of February 2023. This episode entitled Tiny Plastic Chairs with No Cushions. My name's Nathan Wrigley and I'm joined today by three lovely guests, the first of which is Michelle Frechette, but I'm also joined by Chris Badgett and Dominika Milkshake. We're here to talk about WordPress, so that's exactly what we do. We spend a lot of time at the beginning talking about WordCamp Asia, which is happening towards the end of this week. We also touch upon the sad news that GoDaddy have had to let go of up to 8% of their staff. We then get on to WordPress 6.2 Beta, which has been announced, and tell you how you can go about testing that. We also talk about the WP Community Summit. It's happening in 2023. Michelle has applied and you can too. We also talk quite a lot about AI generated images. Chris in particular has got a lot to show us, including hundreds and hundreds of avatar pictures of himself. The Page Builder Summit is coming around next week, and so we talk about how you can get into that. And then a little bit more AI about creating web pages. Is it going to get rid of all of our jobs? It's all coming up next on This Week in WordPress. This episode of the WP Builds podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. Hello, episode number 241 of the WP Builds podcast. I've just had a total catastrophe. I went to fill up my pint of water. Oh, it's now all on my lap. I'm sitting in a pint of water for the next hour and a half. Brilliant.
At least it's not hot coffee, right?
Oh, you couldn't make it up. I mean, there's just a smooth floor and I just tripped. I don't know what. Anyway, at least it didn't hit my computer. So I'm still here. And I'm joined by three lovely, lovely people. We're going to talk about WordPress a lot. But before we get to that, let's have the introductions. Firstly, over there, it's Michelle Frechette. How are you doing, Michelle?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I am, yep, honestly, if you'd asked me 30 seconds ago, I would have said, fine. I think now the answer is wet.
Soggy
Is how I am, yeah. Let's do the official introduction to Michelle, though. We know it's a good one. Michelle Frechette is the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP at Liquid Web. She was called the busiest woman in WordPress by Matt Mullenweg. We were there. WordCamp US 2022. In addition to her work at Stellar WP, Michelle is the podcast barista at WP Coffee Talk. She's the founder of Underrepresented in Tech, creator of WP Career Pages, president for the board of BigOrangeHeart.org. I'm barely started. Director of Community Relations and contributor at poststatus.com. No, I'm going to do it. I'm getting through it. Co-host of the WP Motivate podcast, co-host of the Audacity Marketing podcast, author, business coach, and frequent organizer and speaker at WordPress events. Michelle lives outside Rochester, New York, where she's an avid nature photographer. Look behind her. You can see them. And you can learn more about her at meetmichelle.online. Now I'm going to take a drink. How are you, Michelle? All good?
I am now. I'm headed to Thailand today. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I finally got my passport, so it's been a heck of a week.
So not jealous, Michelle. There's no bit of me which wants to go to sunny Thailand. I want to stay here in dreary England. Oh, Lord. Yeah, we'll get on to that. We're also now, Dominika, I'm so sorry. I have absolutely no way into pronouncing your surname. May I ask, so that I don't butcher it, can you tell us how to pronounce your name correctly? I'm so sorry.
Sure. Dominika Milkshake.
Okay, I'm going to record that, play it on loop, and try and get it. It's not for my tongue, that one. But
it's
welcome.
Okay. It's actually when I had my internship in UK, nobody could pronounce it, so they used to call me milkshake.
Okay, yes, that's so much more straightforward. Yes. Okay, so we're joined today by Dominika Milkshake. She is the community manager at Hostinger. She's a digital nomad on a mission to spread happiness. Give us an insight into the digital nomad bit for a minute. Where have you recently been hanging out?
So I lived in Mexico for 3 months, which was really, really lovely. Very, very nice and hot. Sunshine every day. I feel like whenever I have the sunshine, it's just like, woo, life is much better. Currently now I feel your pain, Nathan, because I am in Lithuania and we have very gray skies here. So I know what you are going through.
Yes.
But I'm flying to Bangkok tomorrow. So
again, no jealousy there at all. Just let's see if they can do the full WordCamp Asia trifecta with Chris. Chris, before we introduce you, are you going to WordCamp Asia?
Only on Twitter. I won't. I'm going to hold down the gray with you, Nathan.
There's another one. Yeah. We're joined by Chris Badgett. He's our third guest today. Chris used to be on this show when it first started. You were on like dozens and dozens of times, and then just sort of saw the light and didn't come on again for ages. But he's back. If you don't know Chris is the CEO and co-founder of Lifter LMS. He enjoys using and contributing to WordPress. He's been doing so since 2008. He's also the host of the LMS podcast. Anybody who doesn't know what an LMS is, I guess it would be good to clear that up. What's an LMS and what does Lifter do?
It's a learning management system. So for creating online courses or training-based membership sites on WordPress, that's what Lifter does.
That is what Lifter does. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And appreciate you joining us. I know that for some of you, it's pretty early in the morning. First of all, if you are interested in sharing this podcast, the best way to do it is to go to Twitter right now, this second, and type in wpbuilds.com/live and then share it. If you send people there, then they can comment. That's perfectly fine, but they'll need to have a Google account because it's YouTube comments. Another way of doing it, if you're in our Facebook group, you can do this. You can find the post over there. And in order to share your avatar and name, Facebook require you to click a link. It'll be at the top somewhere, but it's chat.restream.io/FB. And if you do that, then we know who you are. Entirely up to you. Some people don't do it and they just write their name as the first part of what they're writing. But yeah. Okay, let's see. I didn't expect anything less. Just so that you know, Dominika and Chris, Peter Ingersoll every week drops in a nice short weather report, and we always start the show with what the weather's like in Connecticut. I don't know how it began, but it's a thing. So let's see what the weather's like in Connecticut. Nice for you to join us. Thank you, Peter. Hello, it's 1 degree centigrade, 34 degrees Fahrenheit under sunny skies here in Connecticut. Temperatures will be well above normal today. Thank you. That's probably about here.
That's exactly what I have here in Rochester as well.
Yeah. Tell me this, right, you American folk. What is it with Fahrenheit? I mean, it's
just what we know.
It's the most mental set of numbers, isn't it?
It's just like feet and yards.
Yeah.
It's the whole system. Everything is messed up in America.
But you Brits made it up. It's called the imperial system.
I know. It's absolutely. We check this out, right? We have this thing, and it's the only thing that we weigh it in is ourselves. And we weigh ourselves in stone. Stones. The number of stone. I mean, which stone? Who's got the stone that, it's all measured by? I've no idea. Yeah. But we also use yards and feet. We use miles. Quite a lot of people who were educated, quite a while back, they're measuring things in feet and inches, whereas all the young people are measuring everything in centimeters. We could go off. It's a complete tangent. And
we can agree on pints, though.
Yeah, yay! yeah. I've just measured out a pint onto my lap. I know exactly what that feels like. Oh dear, yeah. Okay, let's get on to the sort of WordPressy stuff, shall we? Very nice to have all three of you with us. I really appreciate it. Let me just share my screen. Okay, some blatant self-promotion just for a couple of minutes, if that's all right. This is WP Builds. This is the website where we got all the stuff. We produce a podcast episode on a Thursday. That's usually an interview or a chat with David Wormsley. David Wormsley's Facebook account, I think, was hacked this week. So if you go to see David Wormsley on Facebook, I don't know what you're going to get, but it probably won't be him. The other thing to mention is that we do this show. It gets repackaged as a podcast episode and it goes out tomorrow, so on a Tuesday. If you want to keep up to date with that, then stick your email into there and press the blue subscribe button and we'll keep you updated. We don't send out lots of junky emails. We just send out the ones letting you know there's a new episode. The other thing to say, I am going to see how many times during the course of this episode I can say the words Page Builder Summit. There's one. And there's an advert right there next to me.
We need a tally.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody keep track. Somebody keep track of the amount of times I say Page Builder Summit. There's two, because it's on next week. It's starting next week, next Monday. It's from the 20th to the 24th of February, 2023. It's 5 days. The first 4 days are presentations, and the last day is more all about networking and things like that. We've got loads of great speakers. If you go to pagebuildersummit.com, you can see who they are. If you just sort of scroll down, you get you get some more information about all of them. There they are. Lots of lovely, fine people. And
this is a good time to remind people that we will not have this podcast next week because you'll be doing Page Builder Summit.
That's a good point. Yeah, we won't be having this next week because I'll be doing the Page Builder Summit. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Michelle. So if you want to attend, it's completely free. The only caveat around that is that you can watch the videos for the first 48 hours for free. And if you want to keep them after that, we have an upsell, totally optional, but you get to keep all the materials and the things that the speakers have added in. You'll be told about it when you sign up. So pagebuildersummit.com. That's 3. And that's the number 3, isn't it?
It's more than 3.
Oh, is it? Oh, are you actually keeping track? Oh,
you're
that's
up to like 6 now.
Okay. Oh, no. Anyway, I've been working hard on it, so forgive me for that. Couple of comments dropping in. Max is joining us. Hi, Max. Nice to have you with us. He says, hello, everybody. We've also got Lana. Happy Monday, she says. And Courtney from Amsterdam. Courtney, does that mean you're currently en route to Bangkok by any chance? I'm imagining that's what's going on there. But
I've been following her online. She is en route.
Oh, thank you for joining us in the middle of your journey. That's amazing. Right, let's get on with the WordPressy stuff for this week. It won't surprise you to learn that the first thing we are going to talk about is WordCamp Asia. It is happening toward the end of this week. I think Contrib Day is... What is Contrib Day? Is it the Friday?
It is. Yep.
Okay.
Or Thursday.
Thursday, and then the... Yep. 17th.
Which is the 17th.
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll ignore the days. It's happening on the 17th and it's going on through to the 19th. It looks like it's going to be a really amazing event.
Friday, I think.
Is it? Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I lost track of what's what.
Yeah. It's the first WordCamp that's been held in Asia of this magnitude. Obviously, there's lots of more local ones, but it was supposed to happen back in 2019. And 2020. Honestly, 2020. Thank you. Honestly, I feel it was like a week before that the whole COVID thing swept out of control and it got pulled. I remember looking at social posts back then from some people who'd already arrived at the destination and they were having like a little bit of a vacation beforehand. Whole thing got kiboshed, went online, and now the real thing is happening again. Michelle, it sounds like you're not going. Oh, are you going? You are going. You're not going. You are going. You're not going. I can't decide. You did a post about it, though. What? It's called Michelle Almost Didn't Make It to Asia. What silliness? Yes. What did you do?
I lost my passport.
Oh.
And had to get a new passport and expedited it with 3 to 5. It says 3 to 5 weeks, and it showed up in 4 weeks. If it had not been here by last week, I would not have been able to schedule the travel. So it arrived last Monday. And I was able to book all my travel, and I will be getting on a plane in about 6 hours, 7 hours, and on my way through New York City to Paris to Bangkok.
It feels like the passport is one of those objects that you take real good care of, and it goes in that drawer, that drawer that we've all got, and there it goes. What, like, genuinely, were you tearing your hair out? It's got to be in that drawer. What happened to the drawer?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it had to have been in between 2 drawers, and so I reported it missing. And once you report it missing, doesn't matter if you find it, which I did, you still have to get a new one. I found it and I was like, oh, if I could only just use this one. But yeah, so, but the bottom line is it still has my married name on it because I had to do it quickly. So I'll be traveling as Michelle Ames, which you all have seen before. But I got my passport and I am heading out this afternoon. I'm speaking at WordCamp Asia.
I know. I was going to get onto that. Mm-hmm. You're doing a bit of speaking. What's your presentation about?
My presentation is called Look for the Good. And it's about the fact that we've had 3 years of upheaval in WordPress and in our world, right? With the pandemic, et cetera. And more than pandemic, there's been floods and wars and all of these other things. But the one thing that's really carried me through, and I think a lot of other people too, is that WordPress has become more tight-knit. And that because we were forced to go online to meet people, we've actually been able to grow our networks in ways that we might not have been had things continued to be just in person.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've strengthened relationships around the world for sure, and met people that I didn't know before because everything was online. So yeah, I have a 10-minute, I'm flying all halfway around the world for a 10-minute talk and I couldn't be happier.
That's great. And Dominica, you're going as well, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow. Yes.
Are you there in like an official capacity? Are you going for hosting it, or are you going just to check it out?
So I'm going. I have like 3 roles. So I am going as obviously part of Hostinger, which is awesome and amazing, and quite a few of us will be going. So it will be a very interesting experience, and to compare it, WordCamp EU, WordCamp US, WordCamp Asia, how it will be like. I am also going as an MC. So I will be the hall leader on Sunday. And I'm also going, and I am a little bit nervous about this, but myself and Yvette from Yoast will be leading a marketing table on a contributor day. And it's my first time doing that, so I am nervous. And I told Yvette that she will be the chef and I will be the sous chef. Because I haven't done it before, but it's very exciting. So there will be a lot of things happening for me, and I think it will be fun. Yeah.
And Chris, what can we say? Just commiserations, basically.
Have fun. I had to spread my WordCamp love around, so I will be going to Europe and US.
But, you are going to go to the European one. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's going to be held in Greece later this year, and it looks like, Athens in particular. And it does look like it's going to be a really nice event. Oh, so that's good news. Oh, you'll have to come onto the show and we can reprise this conversation. But you'll be able to say that you went. I actually forgot about this. Well, not forgot, but forgot to put it into the show notes. But I'll quickly share it. I did a WP Tavern podcast episode with Naoko Takano about WordCamp Asia, and it's actually a really interesting conversation. She was just trying to explain how they're trying to make it different, but also trying to explain why it's so important for that part of the world to have this event, for it to be a flagship event. And it's really worth listening to. Whether you're going or whether you're not going, it doesn't really matter. It's just a good listen. And one of the things that she made the point of, which I picked up on, was about how it can be tricky for folk to get visas for places like, let's say, Greece or the United States if they want to attend WordCamp US or WordCamp Europe or something like that. And so hopefully...
Especially the States.
Yeah.
I think, I actually, when I was coming to the States, I got stopped at the Border Patrol, I guess that's how it's called.
Customs.
And Customs, yes. And I was questioned for an hour and a half.
Oh my
I had to
goodness.
show that I'm working for Hostinger. They even wanted to see my bank statements that actually Hostinger pays, and then like they kept asking the same questions over and over again, the standard procedure.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my God, you really think I want to stay in the US? No.
I won't take that personally. How about you, Chris?
Oh, that's okay. Well, that's something. I mean, to be honest with you, I remember the paperwork that I had to go through for the US was on a scale actually that I've never had to do before. And I've been to the US several times, but it's really gone up a gear. Obviously, COVID throws a lot of paperwork in your direction, and you had to provide all of that proof that you'd been vaccinated and download official documentation, in our case, from what's called the NHS, the National Health Service. But also there was all sorts of other documents. And I found it quite strange that I got all this documentation meticulously prepared. I had it all in like this little folder so I could whip it out at the moment. And the guy at the customs to me just barely looked at me. It was like, off you go. I thought, I've just done all this. You could at least look at it. But yeah, I'd probably have rather had the easy ride. But yeah, so that was her point, that it's incredibly tricky, very costly for people to make it over to those parts of the world. So that's a really important point. So go and check that out. It's podcast episode number 62 on the WP Tavern. Okay, from good news to bad news. I think this is unequivocally bad news, and we very rarely feature bad news, but I think this is worth mentioning. Okay, if you've been following on social media this week, I have to say this first. GoDaddy or GoDaddy Pro is a sponsor of this podcast, so you just have to, full disclosure, they help maintain this podcast, so that's important to get out there. But tragic news this week. February the 8th, GoDaddy CEO Aman Bhutani, I think that's how you pronounce the name, said that the global 8% of the global workforce will be laid off. I suspect that all the people who are earmarked to be laid off have already found out about that. But essentially, for me, obviously not being on the inside of the GoDaddy team, I didn't see this one coming. I just saw the press release and there it was. And so it was a sudden bolt out of the blue. I'm sure that all of us know a heap of people who potentially may have been caught up in this. I kind of immediately got myself on social media and tried to connect with people directly just to sort of see how they were. And it's just hard, isn't it? The thing is, this isn't just GoDaddy. It seems to be across the board. Google, Facebook, all these companies laying off significant amounts of people. I think in Google's case, it was 12,000 redundancies. GoDaddy, I think it was in the mid 500s. So we're reporting on it, not with any, delight or anything like that, but it's important to mention. So yeah, have you got any thoughts on this? I don't know, Michelle, Namika, Chris, what you've got to say about this, whether you've noticed a tightening of the belts in your part of the world, in your companies.
Not here, not at Liquid Web, at least not that I'm aware of. No, but things are progressing as normal there. But I will point out, if you are somebody who has been laid off, go to my website that I built, wpcareerpages.com, and it lists there's almost 100 different WordPress and WordPress adjacent companies there, and it just is a link to their career pages. Lifter's on there, for example. Hostinger's on there, for example. So if they're hiring and you click through, you will see the openings that they have. And usually every Wednesday I tweet at least 10 openings or 10 companies that are hiring with openings. I will be probably taking a hiatus this week and next week because of travels to WordCamp Asia. But go to wpcareerpages.com as a starting place looking for work, because that's why I built it.
It's also, I've found the hashtag on Twitter, which in many cases gets cross-posted over to Mastodon. WP Jobs, hashtag WP Jobs seems to be a good one to follow as well, because people seem to be widely using that. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, that's really useful. WPcareerpages.com. Go check it out. What about hosting? How's it all going over there?
Well, it's going really well. It's kind of the same. We're definitely not letting people go, and we are looking for people all the time, as we're growing in different regions. So definitely check out our careers page. And while we're at it, I just want to say, Michelle, how amazing. I always admire you, how many plates you're spinning at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, I build this page and I do this marketing thing and I do this. And it's like, wow, like how many hours you have in the day. So it's amazing that you help
Thank
out
you.
people. Yeah, I love
Thank you.
Michelle
I
can
try.
manage to spin multiple pages, and I can barely hold on to a glass. That kind of
I'll
speaks
tell
volumes.
you, WP Career Pages was a pandemic lockdown project because I couldn't go anywhere on vacation. So I thought, well, I'll use my vacation day to do something helpful to the world.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it is the most simple website you'll ever encounter. It's basically a page, but it's just got links that are helpful.
What about the LMS industry, Chris? I mean, I know that in the pandemic, well, I'm guessing that in the pandemic, the LMS industry kind of had a bit of a shot in the arm. I imagine it became way more popular. So that precipitous rise, which I'm guessing occurred, did it then lead to a precipitous drop? Has it gone off the other end, or has it continued to grow?
There was a spike, and then that particular cohort was a little more churn heavy. But the thing about the LMS industry that's interesting is it tends to benefit from challenges. Pandemic's one. Also, when the tech, like the inflation, job market stuff, it also puts pressure on people to do alternative streams of income, side hustles, or reskill for change. Like, let's say courses about how to use AI in marketing, SEO, tech. So it's a robust industry, particularly when there's challenges, which is kind of counterintuitive. But yeah, that's where my head goes with the layoffs that are happening in tech and the pressure from AI. Seth Godin wrote a great book called Linchpin. So how do you make yourself indispensable? So these are important questions in terms of competing or leading or managing in a world of AI, and also just in terms of what roles do tech companies look at when they do their first rounds of layoffs and stuff like that. Just kind of coming into that with eyes wide open, and how can you reskill to make yourself more future proof?
That's a really interesting point, and we will be coming back to the whole AI thing in a minute. But you've noticed this in the past, have you? This is a trend. When there's layoffs in one industry, you find an uptick in LMS. People suddenly they need something to do. They need to be busy generating income and creating courses around the knowledge that they've got. And WordPress knowledge is indispensable. There's loads of things that could be packaged up as courses if you've been into hosting or whatever it may be. Yeah, that's a
100%. And I just see a lot of people creating content and courses on how to deal with the AI situation or how to leverage it, like how to do SEO in a world of AI, how to be a freelance writer in the world of AI, how to augment your writing with those things instead of be disrupted by it. So it's the innovation train continues. It actually accelerates.
What did you say? Indispensable. How to make yourself in? That was the premise of this linchpin book. How to make yourself basically unsackable.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great book. Seth Godin has written a lot of books, but that's my favorite one of his.
That's a good one. Okay, thank you. Courtney's dropped into the comments. Thank you, Courtney. Courtney, of course, does work for GoDaddy. The WordPress community has been amazing at reaching out to impacted team members. Thank you, folks. Yeah, that's good to hear. I confess I don't know anything about those conversations in the background, but maybe there will be some silver lining for some of the people who've managed to find other work, either in me or already or in the near future. But yeah, thanks, Courtney, and safe travels if you don't give us another comment. Okay, so that is indeed sad news, but it was important to mention it. Let's go on to something a little bit different. This is a bit nerdy. This is the WordPress proper news. This is that WordPress 6.2 Beta 1 is open for testing. If you know how open source software on the scale of WordPress works, then they don't just throw out new releases of WordPress randomly. Hopefully, lots of people pound on it, volunteers pound on it, try to figure out what's broken, make suggestions, and then it goes through this beta phase, various iterations, and hopefully at the end of it, when WordPress 6.2 does ship, all of those bugs will have been squashed. If you want to help, you can go to this article. It's on wp.org, wordpress.org. It's just called WordPress 6.2 Beta 1. It explains how you can do that, and it explains how you can get a version of the beta and how you can report back and exactly what they would like help in testing. There's a whole bunch of new features rolled up into WordPress 6.2. Too many to talk about here, really, and we've mentioned them loads of times in the past. Chris, as a plugin guy, this kind of stuff must be your bread and butter, I would have thought. When you get a release of this, presumably to make Lifter immune to problems when it first comes out, you must be pounding on this as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, one of our product philosophies is the WordPress way. So when, as the block builder and the interface there innovates, we go lockstep with that so that we're just compatible with the future. So yeah, we're just constantly, we have a bunch of new block stuff that's getting ready to come out that leverages a lot of these things. But I will say I'm also super excited as a marketer for what's coming next, part 3, where we're doing collaboration, which they mentioned in that article. I know a lot of people who use Google Docs when it would be great if we used WordPress natively from initial concept to finished content, which a lot of people do. But I find myself using Google Docs a lot, and I'm just really excited to see WordPress attack this issue of multi-person collaboration.
I would have absolutely no hesitation in using WordPress for collaborative documents if that feature was robust. I would probably start to use it in preference because of all the great things you can do with the blocks. But given any document that I need to share with people, there's just no chance that I'm using WordPress at the moment. It's always going to be, I think, it basically Google Docs 100% of the time for me, and I probably produce 10, 15 Google Docs a week. And if I could have those hosted on my own infrastructure and collaborate and use all the blocks and all of that, that would be truly brilliant. I've got a feeling it's going to be a really difficult task to pull off.
Well, I just want to say there's been some validation with that with Anil over at Multidots. They have a plugin solution called Multi-Collab where they're already kind of innovating into this space. So it's coming.
I guess my concern is for people who've got really budget hosting plans. I guess if you're paying a boatload for your hosting, that call back and forth from the server is probably going to be handled beautifully. But I imagine it'll be much more difficult. So we'll have to see. There was an episode that I did with a guy called Steve Burge from Publish Press. He talked about this with me for an hour or more. And there's a lot in there. That will be a really nice addition. So go check it out. Help with the project if you can. Michelle, Dominika, anything you want to add about 6.2 before we move on?
I added it to this list today to look at for 2 reasons. Number 1, I thought it was important. Number 2, I just wanted to hear you say beta several times.
Oh, great. Okay, Page Builder Summit. Page Builder Summit, you've got 2 more tick marks to put down. I'm going to make you work for that. What do you say? You say beta, right?
Beta, yeah.
Beta.
It's beta.
It's got a D the way you say it, right? Beta, D.
Well, beta, yeah.
I mean, go and talk to somebody in Greece and ask them because is it not a Greek word?
I took 9 credits of Greek in college, so I think I know what I'm doing. But
okay, all right. She's thrown down the gauntlet. Okay, all right. I got some research to do. Somebody go to ChatGPT and ask it, how do you say that word? And it'll probably write me a text prompt, which won't help in any way, shape, or form.
It's actually beta. So that's where we get the word alpha.
No, is it?
Alphabet.
Is it
really? It is.
No.
We get the word alphabet from that because it's alpha, beta, right? So none of us say it right.
You're everywhere all at once, and you're so smart. By the way, I watched that film this week. Has anybody seen that film yet?
Yes.
Everywhere, everything, everybody, all the time, everywhere, all at once.
It was wonderful.
It's great.
I literally was transfixed. There's very rarely a moment when I'm sitting there and I'm trying not to blink. It was that good. And then I put my my young son, well, he's not that young, he's growing up, put him in front of it, and he had exactly the same experience. It was just like, you have no idea what's going to happen next. And you have no idea what's going to happen next. And it's just, the fingers. And
you'll never...
Oh my God!
You'll never the hot dog. You'll never look at hot dogs or bagels the same again.
No.
It's a hot recommendation, but don't watch it if you've had a beer, because you've got no chance. You're not keeping up with that plot. It's so good. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, really, really good. Let's move on. Right, Community Summit. This is over on WP Tavern. Sarah Gooding wrote an article. By the way, Sarah Gooding, she's a bit like you, Michelle. She manages to just keep pushing great stuff out. Truly amazing. Yeah. Since Justin left, she's just managed to keep the whole ship pushing forward. So bravo, Sarah. Thank you.
Props to Sarah, for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So she's got a piece. It was 7th of February. It's called WordPress Opens Applications for 2023 Community Summit. I confess I'd not even heard of this event before, and probably the reason for that is because it last happened in France, Paris, France, in 2017, and it's an invite-only event. But you have to get yourself on the invite list, and it's going to happen for 3 days amongst the select invitees, and they're going to really just toss around the idea of what WordPress is, what the community means. Michelle, I think you've applied, right? Because you're not busy enough. You've applied. And
I did apply to attend, and I actually threw a topic out as something that I could present there. So,
and my remembrance is that this are bots with WordCamp US, right? So it's that 3-day event, and then immediately afterwards. Mm-hmm. Okay, immediately afterwards. And dare I ask, what did you submit as your chat?
Yeah, so I love photography, and the photography team is one of the newer teams with WordPress. And, I love photography. See it on the back here. I'm one of the moderators on the photography team, and I'll be staffing the table for Contributor Day at WordCamp Asia as a photographer there as well. And so I submitted the fact that we need to grow the community library that we have, the direct photo directory, as a way to, I don't like the word recruit people into WordPress, but as a way to introduce to people that you can get a badge and you can start that feeling of being involved with the community and contributing simply by submitting a photo that gets published to the photo directory. You can get your first badge ever on your WordPress.org.
I actually saw your question during the Matt's Q&A. And we have a Slack channel in our company for people that share pictures and stuff. So I shared the link that people can upload their pictures. Yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed, people will do that. It was just really nice, this initiative.
That's
with
wonderful.
Pictures.
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it. Yeah, it's all open source, so you agree to, put your photo out there for other people to use without attribution. And I've been using them. I've been using pictures from there. And actually, in my weekly roundup now for Post Status, I choose a photo from the photo directory, put it in my weekly roundup on the Post Status website, and give attribution to who it was that contributed, and a link through to their WordPress profile. I just love it.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I'm going to have to get a T-shirt made for you or something with a speedometer on it, and it's just it's maxed out of the amount of things that you're doing. It says on this post here, in the past, the Community Summit was created to provide an opportunity for contributors to have an important discussion and open communication channels about their work in the future. A few proposed topics, including streamlining contributions to components of Gutenberg that are already part of WordPress core, the importance of performance, strengthening the contributor pipeline, and so on. And you can apply. There's a link at the bottom which goes over to this website, which is make.wordpress.org. Maybe Google, or don't. You'll find out later. Apply to attend the 2023 Community Summit, and do like Michelle. That's the T-shirt I'm going to make. Be like Michelle.
Oh my God.
That's what. And then there'll be a speedometer, and then it'll say "Be like Michelle." And there'll be a great big picture of Michelle's head. It's going to be brilliant.
I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation that week.
You're not actually having a vacation. Don't try to fool us. You don't take time off.
No, I do though.
Do you? Okay. Let's move on. This is a really nice piece. A chap that I confess I didn't see at WordCamp US, but name is Alex Stein. Alex Stein has been awarded the first ever accessibility fellowship. The piece is over at the wpcommunitycollective.com. It's a press release dated the 7th of February. You see, this is the Americans again. Look, this crazy dating system that they've got here, where the month comes first and then you got the day after that. Who does that? The Americans is the answer to that. I'm in such trouble. Dominica, I don't know what you've done to me. You made me like this staunch anti-American guy on this episode. I've got to rein it in a bit.
Come on, it's backwards. It's backwards.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Who writes like this? It doesn't make sense. At all.
Thank you. I'm going to start a new podcast all about that. He has been awarded the scholarship, but my understanding is in order to activate the scholarship and for it to be sent in his direction, the amount that's requested needs to be fulfilled. And so again, in the show notes will be a link to opencollective.com. And you're going to then go / the WPCC, which stands for the WP Community Collective. You'll see down here are a bunch of things which are hoped to be financed. And this is the one I think that involves Alex. I hope I'm getting this right. And at the moment, of the $15,000 which are hoped to be raised, we have a grand total of 1,027. So if anybody feels that they could dip into their pocket to make it happen for Alex, that would be really great. Any commentary on this?
Alex is he's amazing. And I'm really grateful to the collective for selecting him for Accessibility Fellow. He gives tirelessly to help people make their websites and organizations make their websites more accessible. And he does a great job. He does a lot through meetups, and he's had he's actually critiqued one of my websites, Underrepresented in Tech, so that we can make it better, and he does a great job. So I think that it's very well deserved.
It says on the website here, Alex has been an active contributor in WordPress since 2016. His personal experience as a fully blind individual gives him a unique perspective on the challenges that people with disabilities face using and working in WordPress. He aims to help everybody have the same access to information no matter what capabilities they are working with. And then there's a quote from Alex, which I think I'll read in full if you don't mind. I am excited to have the opportunity to give back to the project that provided me with my start in the technology field. I could not continue to give back at my current capacity without this generous program. I will help ensure WordPress becomes more accessible, and I will fight to have the community as a whole adopt new principles that will ensure accessibility is the first thought, never the last. Yeah, really, a truly great story. That's great. So I guess in order to make that a reality, some of us need to dip into our pockets. Head over to that website there. Dominica and Chris, anything to add to that story?
Well, I love Alex. I have met him in WordCamp US. He's a really cool guy. He joined us on the contributor dinner we were organizing, and it was just lovely to speak to him. And for anyone that comes new into the space, and for anyone that doesn't have some sort of disability, it's very it brings you down to earth to see how other people deal with it, and to take it from their perspective. So it's really amazing what he's doing. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you. Chris, anything on that?
I just want to give a shout out to Amber Hines, who's in the picture with him. She's done a lot for accessibility in the community, and I saw them both at WordCamp US, and it's just great to see this work being done.
Yeah, really, really nice. Getting back to the whole date fiasco, Dategate is what I'm going to call it. Peter seems to have some insight. He says the day-month position switch is a bigger issue than the attention it gets. You'll have to explain. All I know is that if the number is less than 12 and I read an American date, it could easily be one or the other, and I get totally I get messed up by that. Thank you to Rob Cairns. Love the work that Amber does as well. Yeah, credit to
Absolutely.
There's a whole bunch of people in the accessibility team. I don't know if you've ever done this, and forgive me. What I'm about to say may sound crass, and I do apologize if what I'm about to say offends anybody. But have any of you ever done that experiment where you close off your eyes and you try to use the internet? It, generally speaking, and me included in the pages that I produce at WP Builds, it is a total catastrophe. It is so breathtakingly hard. There's so many things which we love to see on web pages. They slide around here and they collapse over there, and a lot of it is just the antithesis of what I imagine people like Alex would wish for. I did that several months ago because I had a podcast episode with Joe Dolson and we were talking about this exact thing. And it was really salutary. It made me realize just how closed off the vast majority of the internet is. And frankly, it's not fair. I'm sorry if that came out back to front or, didn't sound right.
No, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
All righty. Let's move on. Right, we're going to get into the AI that we always get into AI, and thankfully, you can be sure that this podcast is basically driven by AI. That's what Rob Payne says. This podcast is all done by ChatGPT. Do you know ChatGPT, whatever it is? What is it? The thing behind ChatGPT, GPT something. It's going from version 3 to version 4 soon, very soon, and apparently it's going to get a lot better. Well, I don't even know what that means. It's already crazy good. So on WordPress.com, anybody using WordPress.com, you can now do the whole AI thing inside of some new blocks. Again, Sarah Gooding, hat tip to her. She's written an article all about this. To be honest with you, I guess she wasn't really complaining about the implementation by WordPress.com. It's more that the AI itself, she asked it to produce pictures of real living creatures, so dogs and cats and humans and all that kind of stuff. And typically when it tries to do those kind of things, at least in my experimentation, you end up with the fingers like in Everything Everywhere all at once. But that's true, isn't it? I produced something the other day, and I can't even. But like this, there was a collection of fingers which literally looked like spaghetti, and there were too many fingers. But then, if you looked at it in another way, there weren't quite enough. It was all very alarming. And
yes,
so the AI itself is in question there. Don't try to get it to produce accurate pictures of people. But when it comes to sort of scenes like the one that I'm showing on the screen now, I'm showing you a screen of what looks like it looks like a fairy tale kind of snow scene that a child might have put together for nativity project at school or something. It's pretty good. It looks probably like the prompt. It says a snowy village with an ice skating pond, a small bridge, a library, and shops lit from inside. That's what it is. It's pretty good. Anyway, now you can do all of this from inside of a WordPress block on .com. It can also do text. So, as we do every week, let's open up the debate about AI and how it's going to kill us all, shall we? What do we think? I mean, this is cool. It's in .com now. You can obviously short circuit the creation process. I love this topic, and I want to drill down really deep inside of this. So let's have all your thoughts.
I think it's amazing, personally. I mean, if we can make AI do all the boring stuff for us, then we're only left with fun. I mean, this is the whole point. Let the robots work for us.
Yeah, I mean, history shows that never kind of pans out, does it? The idea that if you look back at like documentaries from the 1960s, they were talking about the automation that was going to happen, and look how much time we'll be able to spend on the beach. I think we all work harder now than we ever did, and the automation didn't really make any of that go away. So I admire your optimism, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get rid of all the dull jobs in that way. But thank you. That was a good insight.
I might argue that. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was just gonna say I did a demo. I received a demo from Andrew Palmer with Bertha AI, and so he was showing me how it works and all of these things, and he was using rock climbing as the the topic to introduce to writing articles and setting up courses and things like that. And then he said, oh, and it's even got this image creation. And so he was typing in prompts to do image creation for rock climbing. Only the knees of the quote unquote person climbing were bent like the opposite direction.
Ew.
And I thought that would make rock climbing incredibly difficult. I don't rock climb, but I can only assume that
it's when flamingos go rock climbing. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't think we're in danger at this point of losing our jobs for those kinds of things. However, I think it's interesting, and I think that there's lots of opportunities to use it. But Chris, what were you going to say?
I was just going to make a comment on what you said, Nathan, around automation and free time. I think there's like a couple factors there. One of them is, mechanical and engineering related, but the other is economic. So when it comes to sort of the macroeconomics of inflation and cost of living and student loan debt and all these other things, I think the fact that we're busier than we ever have been is not just because the robots didn't help. I think there's a lot of other factors going on there too, particularly in how money works in our society. So just throwing that idea out there. But I'm super excited, like Dominika said, with have more fun. Like for me, I'm not necessarily excited when I need to go find a featured image for a post, right? So if I can just ask the robot to, hey, do it in this style, I need it to look like this. I tweeted something the other day where I was like, man, I wish Canva could do that, because that's kind of where we go to like create a standardized graphic for like a post or whatever. I tweeted that on Friday, and then I saw like today that now they have AI in Canva. It's like everywhere, and maybe I missed it. Maybe it's always been there, at least recently, but it's just happening really fast. But I think there is a concern, like, is there going to be this musical chairs where all of a sudden there's no chairs left for the humans? And I think the answer is there will always be a place, but we're not really clear on what the end game is here yet.
I think that's a brilliant analogy, and I think not only will there be less chairs, but there'll be tiny chairs that are very uncomfortable to sit in. There'll be no cushions at all. That's completely off the menu. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really interesting, but you're right. AI is creeping into every single interface now in ways that I just didn't even think. So here we are looking at this WordPress.com interface. I think if you'd have said to me even 12 months ago, you're going to be able to just type words and out will pop an image. All right, we can argue about whether the fingers are, functional or whatnot. But 12 months ago, there was no expectation from me, at least, that would even be possible, even in my lifetime. And now here it is. And you've got other industries which are also receiving, similar things. So copywriting, I imagine SEO will go under this as well. And music is even a thing. Google have launched this project last week where they can create, I mean, it's Muzak, really. I think most of it sounded like the sort of stuff you would wish to listen to in or not wish to listen to in a supermarket.
In an elevator.
I mean, that sort of thing, and when you clicked on the toggle for voices, they haven't got the language model in there, so it just created like this sort of choir type effect. You couldn't actually, there were no lyrics or anything, but it sounded like it. I guess my concern is, though, it'll be like death by 1,000 paper cuts, and I am definitely playing the devil's advocate. I don't actually have a sort of doom approach to this, but it's much more fun if I do. But the notion that tiny little bits of work disappear from the human domain and go into the AI domain. So, the thing that you said, Chris, it's not fun to find a featured image. No, it isn't. But somebody had to do it. Mm-hmm. And so that job maybe just sort of gets away. And honestly, if you said to me, if I was an employer and I've got a big company and I've got a team of 10 copywriters and 5 illustrators, and somebody comes and says, do you know what, we could be more profitable. We only need 3 illustrators because we can use AI, and let's get down to 7 copywriters because we think we can farm a proportion of this out to the AI. Let's just see how that goes for a bit. That's a very persuasive argument if economics are the only thing that you're thinking about. And so there go 5 jobs, and then a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And before you know it, we've all got chains around our necks and we're sitting on tiny plastic chairs and there's no cushions. That's the name of this episode today. Tiny plastic chairs with no cushions. Yeah. I don't know. It's.
But nothing will replace the human connection. Like, look at us sitting
Correct.
here, like talking to each other. Like, no AI can do this. I mean, even if they can have a conversation, like, we're humans and we have souls within ourselves. And that is the most magic and special thing about humans. And we will evolve together. Like, just like a lot of people thought, like factories and whatever will replace people, but eventually, people changed the way they work, and there were new jobs created, and now maybe all jobs will go away, but other new jobs will appear. So, like, let's some positivity and
Yes.
comfortable chairs, armchairs with the cushion,
get the upholstered furniture back in the room, and we'll throw cushions all over it. Yes, I like it. Peter Ingersoll has been playing with ChatGPT this weekend. It's incredibly good at writing code, by the way. I confess I've not done it, but I've watched videos and talked to people who have, and it really does appear to do a pretty good job. He said, this weekend I used ChatGPT to create code snippets that let me control aspects of the block inserter to work to my liking. So definite thumbs up for Peter. It's obviously saved you a load of time and maybe some learning that you needed to do. Okay, with that in mind, let's pop the next story out. Actually, I'm going to sneak something in very quickly. And that is this website. I don't know if you've come across this before. This is called WP Cody. We mentioned it a little while ago. This is sublimely clever. So what it can do all sorts of things for you. It's AI, but it allows you to not only create code snippets. So, for example, you can click here and give it a text prompt. Say, I would like to give me a function. And we did it live a few episodes ago. We typed in, give me a function to show all of the posts with the category of, fingers, but omit the first 2 posts. And you click go, 10 seconds later, it did it. And Mark was on the call, and Mark is he's a coder. He knows what he's doing. He had a quick look at it. He said, yep, that'll work. And it took seconds. But not only can it generate the code snippets, it can also explain code snippets to you in English. So you paste a code snippet in and you've no idea what it means. And it just writes text. It said, okay, this function is to show you the posts with the category of fingers, but it's going to miss the first 2. You can also modify code snippets. So if you're taking something out of, I don't know, you've been on an internet search and you want it modified, but you're not sure where to do it, you can do that. And it will also explain error codes as well. And yeah, I think we've made Chris so fed up. Look, he's decided, maybe Chris was AI. Maybe he's glitched out of the matrix. Look, he's just disappeared for a moment there. But that's a really cool website. WP Cody.
It is.
It is that URL. A perfect learning ground if you don't know, if you're not sure and you just want a little bit of reassurance, or you want to build something yourself. But this piece of news hit me just in the last hour or so. So I'm genuinely not. I haven't read it properly. Let's put it that way. But Pinegrow, which is it's a SaaS service. He's back. Look, the Matrix has returned. We were saying you got so fed up with the conversation about AI, you just take a break, go and have a coffee. This is it's a WordPress page builder. It's also a SaaS app, but it allows you to create WordPress pages. It's not like Elementor or Beaver Builder or whatever. You don't drag things in. You have to interact with the code a little bit more. But this week, they've launched AI integrated into their page builder, And when you go down, so it's explaining how it all works and what it's good for and all of this. And then if you get further down, it tells you, okay, you've got to have your own API key, just like all these other services for OpenAI. So you've got to pay for the prompts and things. And then we get to the meat and the bones of it. And it's things like this: write the text, add a button for downloading the portfolio. And guess what it does on your website? It adds a button for downloading the portfolio. And it goes on. There's loads more examples down here where it explains the kind of things that you can do. So it can wrangle the CSS for you. If you're not that familiar with CSS, it will do that for you. It will also... So this is why I think maybe we need to be a little bit concerned, because, jobs and all that. Right at the bottom, you can generate the whole page. So imagine this. You say, create a detailed prompt for instructing AI assistant to build a beautiful homepage for the Smelly Pets website with Tailwind CSS. Smelly Pets offers great grooming services and organic pet care products. The AI assistant comes back with your page. And at this point, I'm going to go and start a commune somewhere. Game
I
over.
I want to join the commune somewhere.
Yeah, nice. We'll go and we will never mention AI, and I will never carry water.
Dominica will join you as long as it's not in the United States.
That's right. So, yeah, we'll get the dates right. We'll use all the correct types of units for but don't you think this is amazing? So I really didn't get time to look at it, and I probably will in more of a deep dive next week. But here's an AI built into a page builder where you can write text to achieve what you want to achieve. And I just think that is utterly, utterly amazing. So I've now talked for ages. Over to you.
It's like a DJ making electronic music. You still got to mix it and iterate.
Nice.
and then throw the party. Yeah. And I just want to add to Dominica's point earlier. You can't send AI to a WordCamp for you.
True.
Yeah. It's pretty stunning. You're going to find this at docs.pinegrow.com.
To be fair, though, is that a beautiful page?
Yeah, right. I got to say about Pinegrow. Now, I'm not a big user of Pinegrow. They are not in that space of click, drag, it's perfect. It's kind of more of a coder's page builder, if you know what I mean. I think you're in charge of doing the creation of the CSS and all of that. So yeah, there is maybe that, but no, I agree. That's something else that they typed in. You see, well, I don't really know. You can also explain the code, as we said a little while ago. Anyway, go check it out. It'll fit the images for you, define blocks and make blocks editable. Just goes on and on and on. This seems, pretty cool. It's docs.pinegrow.com. Michelle, Dominica, anything you want to
add? It's very interesting to watch and see where this all goes, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I'm going to be
still in its infancy, but it's it's like what's that TV show or that movie Jack, where like the little kid was Robin Williams in the 4th grade. Like it grew up so fast, right? It's still in its infancy, but it's a fully bearded adult man.
Yeah, it's like a Twilight baby. Twilight baby grew very fast too. Yeah. I totally get what you're saying.
Speaking of AI, have y'all seen Chris Badgett's images he keeps throwing out there on Twitter? Like,
no.
He's a ninja warrior. He's a knight of the round table. I don't know. Like, I think you're like flying through space in some of them, Chris. Like, you have shared some really amazing images.
That's with Imagine. I'm using Aaron Edwards' Imagine tool there. And I think that's also an interesting thing. Like, what makes those good is 2 things. One, you have to train it. So you literally have to upload 30 pictures of yourself. And then you have to have these awesome prompts, which is what Aaron's tool does. And then once you learn how it thinks, like how to do those prompts, you can start mixing and matching and come up with these crazy concepts. But the human is still there, like directing the show.
Yeah.
You know?
It's amazing.
Can we see some of these? Have you got any sort of lying around that you could show?
I do. Just give me a minute to pull them up.
Yeah, it's okay. Whilst you do that, you mentioned you can share your screen. There's an icon below the... We've never done that, actually, have we? I don't think we've ever had anybody else share the screen. So let's just fingers crossed that it works. Whilst you do that, he was talking about using a plugin called Imagine. There was a podcast episode that I did. I think it went out on Thursday last week with the founders. It's Josh and Aaron. Perfect. Here we go. Now it's going to go like recursive, like that. Oh no, that's it. We got it. Great. Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah. I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So this is
whoa, you look like you're a movie star. Check you out.
I actually have there's like 600 of these, so
wow.
My daughter did this one. So
there's the I knew I saw an astronaut photo.
I like the one with the hair and the beard, like the prince's hair and then the beard.
My mouth is open. I am in awe. This is
amazing?
Truly amazing. Oh, see what's happened to
Bob's
me.
Burgers.
Swing from one side to the other. So tell us how this works again. You download is this a plugin or is this an online? Is this like a SaaS version of their service?
This is Imagine.ai. So you basically have these models, and then you can do I think I used all my prompts, so I can't do one.
Oh yeah, don't worry. But yeah, you type in something.
But see, he's got all these presets, so that you can then you can do one of these presets, but then you can modify the language. Like the one where I look like the cowboy, I actually like modified that. I told it to like make me look more muscular and like a Giga Chad. So
you could truly be what you want to be.
So yeah, this is but this is the beauty of it. The beauty of it is the prompts here. So like Aaron has finally crafted the prompts to, really spit out something amazing. If you just try to tell it to do something on your own, it's probably not going to come out that good.
So you upload multiple images of presumably just you, if this is what you're trying to achieve, which is, I guess this service is really trying to give you back pictures of yourself. You upload a whole ton of pictures of yourself, then click those and it will insert the cleverly written prompt on your behalf.
Yeah, then it'll give you like 6 variations of that. So these are like, this is Chris as Santa Claus 6 different times. For those of you that are listening to this, I do apologize. This is so visual at the moment, but what we're seeing is just row after row of pictures, which are clearly Chris, but they have that kind of Hollywood, when you look at a Hollywood poster for something like the Avengers and it's kind of drawn, but it's very accurate. We're looking at hundreds of different variations of Chris as Superman, as a cowboy, as I don't even know what that one was, but as a king, as an astronaut, and it's just crazy. So, Chris, I got to ask: when you got these back, when you started to see these pictures come in, what did it like? Honestly, what did it make you feel like? Was it like, "Whoa, pretty"?
I like the lion.
I'm pretty
one.
cool.
The lion one doesn't look like a lion. Like it doesn't look like Chris. It just looks like a lion.
Yeah, that's true.
I felt like it was a cheat code on being a graphic artist because I'm not a great designer, but now I can create these kind of designs,
That is absolutely phenomenal. For those of you that are listening and not watching, honestly, go to this part of the podcast and have a little look. So this is Imagine, and it's spelt in a funny way. It's IMAJINN. A jinn in Arabic is like a phantom, like a ghost or something. So they've kind of played with words
Genie,
there.
Yeah, wow,
like genie.
These are great.
They really are, aren't they? And now I'm highly jealous. I'm going to have to lay down what is it, $29 or something like that to get your...
Yeah, it's very cheap. You get like 300 or something for $29.
I'm going to go and make myself, for the first time ever, look cool to my kids.
I'm going to go in and I'm going to go in and do me as you, Nathan.
Oh, yeah. About, I don't know, it's probably about 2 months ago. We had Michelle
Halloween.
It was Halloween. Michelle came on the podcast, but her camera was switched off and we didn't quite know what was going on. And then when she finally put the camera, she dressed up as me. She'd got like a grey wig and got some glasses and put on a little beard. And it was hysterically. I mean, I actually would have dropped a glass of water properly at that point. But it was really, fun. Really funny. So you could do things like that with this, couldn't you? You genuinely could. And maybe there's some concern there, you know, you could make yourself into somebody else, but whoa, they are super cool. Chris, thank you for showing us that. I'll add that to the show notes as well. And over here we've got Rob Cairn saying this is amazing, Chris. Yeah, it truly is. Really, really cool. Mark's AI persona was on the call. Yeah, indeed. And this week I trained a ChatGPT instance to provide tarot readings, a lot less expensive than those late night.
Oh, Megan, send me a link. I want to know how my travel to Asia is going to go.
I want to know, right? Because this will seal it. This will seal it for AI. If the AI predicts correctly what's going to happen, we can all give up. I am calling it on the plastic chairs. It's, you know, if it knows what's in the future, we are truly doomed. But what fun. What fun. But Chris, you threw something in the show notes just before we started the call, because they're doing something else, aren't they? The guys behind Imagine, Aaron and Josh, are doing something else. So what you're looking at is a press release that Chris sent to me. So it's not a web page, but what's this? Do you know?
I'll put the web page in the chat as well, so you can pull that up. But basically, it's a WP. I want to make sure I say it right. Let's see here.
Looks like wp.chat is the URL, at least. Anyway, let me throw that up quickly. Actually, let me just. Boy, that site loaded quickly. Wow. Okay,
it's basically a way to ask. It's kind of like documenting the WordPress core code itself, and then it's going to. So instead of being trained on like Chat GPT 3.4, whatever was trained on the internet up to 2021, and it was, you know, there was some human curation in that process as well. This is specifically focused on the WordPress core code base, and it's laying the groundwork to be used within the WordPress community. So, for example, if I wanted to deploy a chat bot on my website to help people find their answers of how to add some custom functionality on top of Lifter LMS, or, you know, figure out some core WordPress function or something like that, it can do it.
Is it free to use? I'm literally typing in.
It just launched today, so.
Oh, it's really hot. How do I add a chatbot to my website? I'm going to put that in. I mean, obviously that's got nothing really to do with WordPress.
It also shows the sources, which is cool, which I think you mentioned in some earlier in the tool.
We'll come on to that in a moment, but it's thinking at the moment. So this is WP docs.chat. Yeah, I asked it a dumb question. I'm going to play with that and see what I can come up with for next week. But that looks really cool. So it's for those people wanting to explore the WordPress code base. It does feel as if it's got a little bit of an overlap with WP Cody over here, but I guess you're asking it more open-ended questions. Man alive, Aaron and Josh are on a train ride with this, aren't they? They're just killing it with all of that.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is like sort of like we see in the search engines, it's like and just like the profile picture thing, that's like a whole niche that we were just looking at with my stuff. It's like a arms race to see who's going to win. Like ChatGPT may not even be relevant a year from now. It could be something else. Or what's Google going to do? What's Apple going to do? What's Facebook going to do? I think we're going to see a lot of change happening really fast here. And there's just a lot of players. Like, this is just so early days, even though it's been around for a little bit. It's going to evolve fast.
So by pure coincidence, I did release an episode this week on WP Build. It's episode 314, and although it says imagine adding websites, you see what I did there? Imagine adding websites to your web. Imagine adding images to your website with AI. I cannot speak. So I released a podcast with them. It's Josh Daly and Aaron Edwards. And it's all about that. But this is about their WordPress plugin. So the bit that Chris just showed you about creating lots of avatars of yourself, that's not the same thing. This is about being inside the WordPress editor, a bit like we talked about with WordPress.com a minute ago. I don't know why I'm pointing all of a sudden, but I'm doing lots of pointing now, as clearly this matters. The whole premise is that you get. I'm going to stop pointing. Stop, but hold the desk, Wrigley. That you get an option to create these images inside of your WordPress block editor, for example. You know, you're creating a post and you want a featured image, it'll do that, all that stuff for you. So go and check that out. But also go and check out Chat WP if you want to explore the WordPress code base. Right, we're sort of rounding out. Let's finish off with a few bits and pieces. As if we've had enough of AI. There's more to come. This is exactly what Chris was talking about. This is the race, the headlong race to get some kind of AI into our search. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have played with it, but over the last few weeks, towards the end of January, Microsoft invested $10 billion into OpenAI, and OpenAI are the people that are behind all this ChatGPT stuff, with the express intention of putting it into their Bing search engine. Now, I haven't used that. I haven't seen how that's going to turn around. But this piece, which I thought was really interesting, was how disruptive this could be. Now, I'm kind of used to the whole Google way of doing things, where you go to google.com and you type in a search and it spits out link after link after link after link. And, you know, there's a lot of work done to make sure that the link that gets to the top is probably the most useful link to you. I don't know what I feel about getting a kind of chat-based response. You know, if I'm looking for a pizza place near where I live, I think the links is great. That's just probably what I want. But if I want to know why did Hitler invade Poland or something like that, I want a more narrative answer. I probably don't want a bunch of links and then I've got to go to each of those websites. I probably want it to just give me the answer. And so that's where I feel this is going to fit in. So I don't know if you think this is going to disrupt search. I don't know if you would make use of that, but let's just talk about that for a couple of minutes. Do you think you would use that kind of search? If you asked it a question, you want the answer back, or are you happy with the way that links are being handled at the minute? And the added, I guess a good overlap would be back in the day when I started using the internet, before Google, if you wanted to search something, you had to go to directories. So Yahoo was literally a set of lists of web pages, and it didn't help you at all. You just had to go and find something that might help you and then go to it. And at the time, that felt like, well, that's what search is. Then Google came along. Oh no, shiny. That's what search is. And so I feel maybe that's what's happening here. And is ChatGPT going to eat Google's lunch? Discuss.
I'll just say the other night I was making so I needed a recipe for scallops, and I just went to ChatGPT because I personally have a disdain for recipe websites because of all the pop-ups and the ads and everything, and it's so hard to find the recipe. So
you can jump to recipe. There's always a button.
There's that one.
Stop, jump to recipe. That's the best button. It's like the Netflix skip the intro. It's the same.
My daughter actually just showed me that. I didn't know I had blindness to that jump thing, but I think it just depends on the search. You know how like you do like an image search, a video search. I think AI is just like another vector of search, and it'll get integrated within the results of the other SERPs, search engine result pages. But I think it's more a question of integration than one disrupting the other. Because I may want to know what the best pizza place is in this town just by name, or I may want to Google map it. I may want maps, or I may want reviews. So like it's like a lot more a lot more texture to what you're getting out of the output. That's what AI brings to the table.
So a friend sent me a ChatGPT generated bio for me, which had me working at places I've never heard of before, so clearly didn't work there. I'm just imagining, if anybody has ever seen the Friends Thanksgiving episode where the 2 pages of the recipe of the cookbook get stuck together. Yes. So the trifle has like bananas, vanilla pudding, meat, mashed potatoes, peas, and then like ladyfingers at the bottom. I'm imagining that your scallops could be like, and then add vanilla and brown sugar.
That episode was so good. If I remember rightly, because it stuck with me, she was making a trifle and then she got to the layer of beef.
Yes. But Joey loved it. That's the thing.
He did.
Joey loved it. He finished everybody's leftovers. So
his character's so great. I love his character.
Anyway. So so I think the thing about ChatGPT is just make sure that you read everything before you either implement it, post it, or cook it.
I honestly think Google are a bit worried about this, though. I think there is a transformation possibly waiting to happen, and so I think we've all gone out to find pizza joints, right? We've all done that where we want the information to come back, and obviously the interface for that is a map or something like that, a bunch of links. But I imagine there'll be a transformation if you can go knowing that it will answer your question very specifically and give you a narrative answer back. So in my case, how do I make tacos or something like that? And it will give me right off the bat how to do it, but not a link to a website which tells me how to do it, but here's how you do it. Then that's cool. That was a stupid example because you can obviously find that somewhere else. But tell me about moral philosophy in the 17th century. I have no idea what that means. Then it might be able to give me something useful back, and rather than going off searching for it, it will do this for us. So with that in mind, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, so forgive me if you've heard this before, I just think this product is really, really great. So I've stopped using Google, and I've started to use another search engine, and it's called Neeva. I'm really, really happy with it. I definitely think that if you're into this, you should give it a go. It's not free. Well, it is free. There's a free version, but the good stuff I think comes on top of $50 a year, I believe it is. So it's not a lot. It's less than $5 a month, but it's pretty good. They're going to throw that AI in because I'm in the UK and not in the US. It hasn't been made available to me, but I've seen people playing with it, and it does exactly what we've just described, but it annotates it with footnotes. So if you, for example, say, tell me about moral philosophy in the 18th century, it will say, okay, this bit of the text came from Wikipedia, this bit came from philosophy.com, this bit came, and so in that way you can see how the AI has built it up. And if something turns out not to be true, the layer of beef in the lasagna, you can go and find why the AI thought it was, and you can then tell the AI that's not true. And so hopefully over time it will get better. But also, look, this is kind of cool. Look, it's sucked up my Google Docs over here. So inside of the search engine is all my Google Docs. Now, obviously, Google's got that, right? But Bing doesn't. But now this does. It can also integrate with things like Slack, so it can find all of your Slack messages. So you can search for all of that kind of stuff inside of here. It's really cool. It's called Neeva.com, Neeva, and I think they're getting quite a lot of attention in the search engine community at the moment. They seem to be popping up on all sorts of news outlets that I wouldn't have expected in the UK. So yeah, there you go. And that's all I got. I have nothing else. I'm finished. It's not quite true. We've got a new part of this show called I don't even know how to carry on with this, Michelle. Should I do it? It's called What's on Nathan's Head? And it goes like this, right? The other day I got a cupboard and it went there. And it just so happens that when I looked at my picture, the top shelf completely aligned with the top of my head. So each week for the last few weeks, I've put something on top of my head. And you have to guess what it is. What is on top of my head? Have a guess. Come on, quickly now.
It's a towel.
It's a cloth of
It's not a towel.
It's a bed
You're in the right. You're in. No, it's not a bed sheet.
Blanket.
It's not a blanket. It's okay. I'll give you a bit of a clue.
It's a dressing gown.
It's a hoodie.
Jumper.
It's a hoodie. Michelle gets it. Guess what? And I haven't said it in a while, but guess what the hoodie says on it? Hold on.
Uh-oh. Oh my goodness! It says Page Builder Summit. Who would have thought?
So unexpected. Oh my god.
There you go. Add more to the tally. It's a Page Builder Summit hoodie. Michelle gets the award for this week. I'm going to finish off this episode adorning myself. No, I'm not. Forget that. It'll get wet if I put it there. Right, that's it. That's all we've got time for this week. I have been hopeless at carrying water. This, I think, will be called Tiny Plastic Chairs with No Cushions. We'll see.
We're not on screen, so if you want us to wave, you got to bring us back.
No, I'm sorry, Michelle.
It's okay.
There we go. There we go. Right, that's it.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I think the final tally for Page Builder Summit mentions came in around 227.
Oh,
I think that's about right.
You're AI. That's just bad maths. That is bad maths. It was way more than that. Join us for the page. Join us for the Page Builder Summit next week. One more time, 200 and whatever. But thank you so much, Michelle Frechette. Thank you, Dominica.
Milkshake.
And Chris Badgett as well. It would be lovely to have you back on the show at some other time in the future. But for now, you don't know about this. We all wave. I'm so sorry. It's so humiliating. I know, but we make that into the... There we go. We make that into the show notes. We will see you next week. Thanks for anybody who gave us some commentary. Really appreciate it. Take it easy.